Hello there, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for deciding to click on today's video. I'm really excited for today's video because we are going to be reviewing a new sponge. I have been hearing nothing but amazing things about this sponge right here. This is from Juno&Co. This is the Velvet Sponge or the Microfiber Velvet Sponge, and we are going to be trying it out in today's video. So it's going to be like more of a first impressions style video. I haven't played with this at all. I haven't gotten it wet or anything, so I'm going to be testing it out. We're going to be applying some foundation. I'm also going to be showing you guys how it applies powder and everything like that. So if you want to hear my thoughts on this new little velvet sponge, go ahead and keep on watching. Started. Here is what the sponge looks like. This is the Juno&Co Velvet Microfiber Sponge. This is the bag that it comes into. I've already kind of opened it a little bit, but this is the bag you will get it if you purchase it. It says on the back here, if you're looking for a more natural airbrush foundation finish, the Juno Microfiber Velvet Sponge is your go-to. Made with velvet soft microfiber bristles and a slanted edge for controlled stippling, the Juno Microfiber Velvet Sponge provides buildable coverage fast. So this is a new sponge that has just kind of came into the market recently, and this is super affordable. It's only $6, so that's really awesome. I am on their website right now just to make sure, and this one in particular is still available right now as I'm filming this video. I know it's kind of came in and out of stock. I know I recently looked into purchasing it and it wasn't in stock. They do have a few other styles of sponges on their website as well. So it looks like they have a dewdrop sponge. There is a microfiber sculpting sponge. There's also a solid brush cleanser for it. There is a fusion sponge. There's a bunch of different like forms of sponges on here, different like shapes to them and things like that. It also looks like they have some brushes, and then also you can buy these in multiple packs. So it looks like you can get 4 sponges for $18 instead of the $24, so you save a little bit of money on there. They have little holders for them. They have a lot on their website, so definitely check them out. I will have them linked down below if you guys want to do so. But I'm gonna go ahead and wet this sponge right here first off. So again, let's get a close up here of what it looks like. It feels very, very soft. It definitely feels like a velvet material. It does have this slant right here. It looks like a nice shape. It does have a flat edge here at the bottom. So normally with my foundation, I would go in and do it like this. So we'll see how that goes with it being flat right there. One thing I do want to mention before we get into testing it out and wetting it and everything, there is in here like a little pamphlet that came inside of the bag with the sponge, and this basically just says how to clean, do's and don'ts. So it says, while cleaning Juno, run your sponge under warm water to loosen the trapped product. Create a lather using a gentle soap. Squeeze until all of the product is out. It says don't vigorously rub or scrub product off the sponge. Use any texturized brush cleaner. It will tear, and then also submerge and leave the sponge in water. So those are just some tips. And then also it says you can use it dry to apply loose powders, blush, and highlighters. And then you can also use it wet, of course, to apply liquid foundations, concealer, and contour. So it says how to apply dry products. For best results, use your Juno dry. Dip your Juno into the desired amount of product and apply to face. The dry microfiber surfaces will act as a brush hairs for even blend distribution. So we are going to try it dry with one of these sponges. I'm going to do like my highlighter like they said, and I'm also going to do blush and then loose powders with one dry, and then I'm going to do the other one wet. We'll use our concealer and foundation for that. And then it says avoid product overload. Submerge your Juno under water and squeeze out the excess liquid to begin. Apply a dime-sized amount of product on the back of your hand to prepare application. Do not apply product directly onto the sponge, as it will transfer too thick. Using a stippling motion, dab and stipple product until you achieve your desired effect. So I do like the fact that they have just like this little pamphlet here. I mean, I know it's a sponge, but sometimes with sponges, they can have a little bit of a trickiness when it comes to washing them and just like applying things. I like that they have that kind of telling you what it's good for dry, what it's not, just so you kind of know. I like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and wet one of these. I'm gonna leave one of them dry so we can use it dry, and then we can get started with the foundation application. All right, so I'm back and I have dampened the sponge. So here is what it looks like damp. Didn't really expand too much. I would say it's like a tiny, tiny bit bigger from the dry one right here, but it didn't like expand too much. I definitely wring it out quite a bit, so it's definitely wet, but it's not too wet. So I've already applied my primer. I've been trying out this one from Tatcha. This is the little silk canvas. I have a sample size here. So I wanna go in with a foundation that I use all the time just so I can get like the best application because I know how I like this foundation applied. So this is the Too Faced Born This Way. I am in the shade Vanilla, and I'm gonna go ahead and just put a couple pumps here out on my hand, and then we will use the sponge to apply. I think I'm gonna start with this side here to apply it. So I'm just gonna dip the sponge into the foundation and begin to stipple this onto my face. I was really excited to see a more affordable sponge kind of come onto the market and hear people talking about a affordable sponge, because a lot of times people use the Beauty Blender, myself included, and I like the idea of having a more affordable option. So if this is a nice sponge, I'm definitely going to be repurchasing more. So far, it looks like it's giving us a really nice coverage, and it looks like it's blending out really nicely. It doesn't feel too hard. That is a problem that I have with a lot of like drugstore sponges or sponges that are more affordable. A lot of times I feel like they're just too stiff, and when you're applying them on your face, they kind of feel like you're like hitting your face. That's my problem with most drugstore sponges. I've been quite a few like drugstore sponges or more affordable sponges that I just don't personally care for because of how hard they are. And I just don't like the feeling of really hard sponges. So this one feels nice. It doesn't feel like the most soft sponge in the world, but it feels pretty nice. So I'll show you guys what we're working with so far. I feel like it's doing a really good job of blending everything out. I did just go in with 2 pumps. I'm gonna see if I can get that to work for our entire face. That's typically what I use. And then sometimes I'll go in with like another half pump just to get the extra coverage that I want in certain areas. I'm just gonna run it down my neck. This color is a little bit dark for me. I feel like I'm losing my tan from the summer, and this is normally my perfect match, but lately I feel like I've just been getting paler and paler. All right, so giving you guys a close-up, this is what we're looking like blended out. I feel like it looks really nice. I'm pretty impressed so far. I am gonna try it now with concealer, and I'm gonna try this more edged part right here when I am blending out the concealer. I'm just gonna be using some Tarte Shape Tape. I have mine in the shade Light, and I am just gonna use this to conceal my bags. My bags have been crazy lately. I'm actually gonna be taking the flatter edge, like I said, and I'm gonna use that to blend the concealer. I am noticing that it doesn't feel as wet as it did like when I first started, but I don't feel like it's doing a bad job of still blending out. It just doesn't feel as wet. Like the more I hold it, it just kind of feels like it's starting to dry down a little bit, at least the moisture in it. It's definitely doing a nice job of blending out the under eye area. So at this time, I'm actually gonna try the other sponge, and I'm going to apply some loose powder. I'm just gonna do this on one eye at a time. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab the other sponge that I have here, and I'm going to grab some of this Stay Matte powder from Rimmel and just pick this up on this side of the sponge. So I'm gonna get this really closely to my eye here and just press it into my skin. I love using dry sponges for applying powder. That's personally my favorite way to apply my powder. So I'm just gonna go ahead and bake this under eye area. So it did a pretty good job of distributing the powder. I still feel like there's quite a bit on the sponge though. All right, so I kind of paused for a second to figure out the thumbnail situation, which I shouldn't have done because the Shape Tape is kind of starting to dry up a bit on me. And also, like I was saying, I am definitely noticing that the sponge like doesn't feel wet hardly at all. It actually feels pretty dry at this point. So I definitely don't think it's one of those sponges that's going to hold moisture. So if you're someone who likes to do like your entire face with like a damp sponge, you might have to wet it again to finish your application. I still feel like it did a good job of blending out that concealer though, even knowing I can feel how dry it actually is. Let me go ahead and attempt to blend this out here on my nose. Like I said, I left this stuff on definitely way too long when I was trying to do that thumbnail there. All right, so we're gonna go back with our dry sponge here and apply our loose powder to our other eye. So like I was saying, it's definitely taking up a lot of powder. Like if I go like this, it definitely took a lot of powder. I had a decent amount on the cap and I feel like it kind of absorbed it with it being dry. So I don't know that I would love this for applying powder. Definitely worked really nice for applying our foundation though. We're still gonna try it out with highlight. With it being dry, I'll just have to kind of get this powder out of the sponge first. All right, so I'm back. I actually finished my lower lash line and I applied some bronzer. So it said you could apply the dry sponge for blush, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go in with this one from Laura Geller. This is the Tropic Hues Baked Blush from them, and I'm just going to apply my blush on the sponge. I'm gonna tap a little off on the palm here and apply this. I can't say that I've ever applied blush with a dry sponge before, but it actually is doing an okay application. I would say it's probably kind of the same thing, like using up a lot of product by applying it to the sponge as opposed to a brush. I think you would use less product with a brush, but it does give nice application. So if you were in a pinch or you wanted to apply with a sponge, you definitely could. I think it looks really nice with the sponge. All right, so let's go ahead and lastly do some highlights. So I'm just gonna be going in with the Balm Mary Luminizer, and again, picking this up on my dry sponge here and going to apply that to the high points of my cheek. I've seen a lot of people using like damp sponges to apply highlight, but not necessarily a dry sponge. I think it's definitely applying it, but like I was saying, kind of the same thing. It's definitely not adding the punch with that. Let's go ahead and try this one. It's not really that damp anymore. It's pretty much dry, but let's try the damp one and see if that makes a difference here. I feel like that's showing up a little bit more with it being damp. I'll definitely still stick to my brushes as far as applying highlight, but I thought we'd give it a try as it did say you could use it for that. But there, it looks nice on the nose. I think definitely a damp sponge works better than a dry sponge for applying the highlight. All right, so we are all finished. I went ahead and added a lip. So this is our final look using the Juno&Co Velvet Sponges. Let me go ahead and zoom you guys in so you can get a close-up of how the face turned out. Here is a close-up. It definitely looks very, very nice. I feel like it blended out the foundation in particular really, really nice. I think the highlight did apply nice. I just prefer mine a little bit more blinding, but it gave us more of like a subtle glow, and it definitely did a nice job with the concealer. So let's talk about my final thoughts on the Velvet Sponge. So for foundation, I absolutely loved the application. Thought it was really nice for concealer. The only downfall I would say is it doesn't stay damp for long. Like this definitely is like dry. Like I don't feel any wetness at this point. It definitely feels dry. So it's not a sponge that's going to stay wet for a long time, which if you're only using it for your foundation, your concealer, that wouldn't really matter. If you like to kind of go in with a damp sponge at the end or something like that to kind of go over everything, it definitely doesn't stay damp for long. That would be the only con I would say with using it wet. As far as the dry side goes, I probably won't use this as a dry sponge. I will use it more as a wet sponge to apply foundation and concealer because I think it looked really pretty. For the dry products, I think it was okay. I just think it actually soaked up a lot of product. I don't know if maybe if I wasn't using this part, maybe if I'd use the other side it wouldn't have, but I think that doesn't really have much to do with it. I just think that using products in general with a dry sponge, it just tends to kind of take a lot of the product and leave it in the sponge. Like if I go like this, there is a lot of product still in there. And although I think it looked really nice for blush and the highlight looks pretty, I don't know that I would necessarily use this as an everyday thing. I think I'll just stick with my brushes. But I definitely recommend this sponge. Definitely recommend you guys to check it out. I thought it was really nice for application. Pretty much everything we used it for was great. I just personally wouldn't use it for the powders like I said, but I really love the way the foundation turned out with it. For $6, you can't go wrong with this sponge. Super affordable, really, really nice. It's definitely unique and different, but I think it is a really cool product. So I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Let me know what you guys think down below. Are you gonna be trying out this sponge? I've been wanting to get it. Has it been out of stock? I've been seeing it everywhere, like I said. Do not forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel before you guys go, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, friends.